Hello, and welcome to another video. Good morning. So in today's video, we're going to talk about quite a few things. I pray that I have time here because I just have a bunch of topics down here that we're going to kind of go through. I did have another video planned for you, but we're late. Girl, we are late in the game. We are late in the hour, and there was an incident. So yesterday I went to a graduation, a kindergarten graduation, and I realized that, some of the things that the Lord has been showing that will come about, and then seeing what I saw at the graduation, I realized that some of y'all just ain't gonna make it. Some of y'all just ain't gonna make it. And also, with that being said, perhaps some people still just don't know. So we're going to have a few conversations. I pray that the Holy Spirit just helps me with this conversation, because you can already tell that I'm just very annoyed. So at the kindergarten graduation, I realized that we're worse now than ever before. And I just can't see it getting any better for us here. And when I say us, I mean mothers, because I did not witness the fathers behaving in this way, and I'm not letting them off the hook. Okay, we're going to talk about a few things. We're not letting them off the hook, and past me not letting them off the hook, they are not being let off the hook, because there is a role that the father is supposed to play. Thank you, Holy Spirit. We already off course. Okay, hold on. I'm about to look this up because I hear it. This is real time. Okay, so we have two proverbs. This one I didn't have before, but let me pull it up here. And it says, a false witness who breathes out lies, even half-truths, and one who spreads discord, rumors among brothers. My son, be guided by your father's God-given instructions, and do not reject the teaching of your mother. I love that. Bind them together continually upon your heart, in your thoughts, and then tie them around your neck. When you walk about, the godly teachings of your parents, will guide you. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And when you sleep, they will keep watch over you. My God. And when you awake, they will talk to you. For the commandments, or the instruction of your father, is a lamp, and the teaching of the law is the light. And rebukes for discipline are the way of life. Oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. So, like I said, I didn't have that before I sat down here, but do you hear that? I'm going to put for you the verses on the screen. So right here in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 20, we hear, my son, be guided by your father's God-given commandment. And that commandment is instructions. So that means that fathers are supposed to be instructing. They're supposed to be showing the children something. They're supposed to be giving the children instructions. Okay. And do not reject the teachings of your mothers. So we see here that in wisdom, because that's what Proverbs is, it's a book of wisdom. So if you were wise, you would hear that a mother is also supposed to be teaching something. Well, what I witnessed yesterday is that the mothers are teaching the children something, and they're teaching them all the wrong things. And perhaps it is because you yourself were taught the wrong thing. But remember, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter in the area of we talking about repentance. That doesn't matter in the area that we talk about doing better. What are you doing right now that's leading to the demise of your own children and yourself? So how are you teaching? Like I said, I didn't witness the fathers doing that. I also didn't witness the fathers giving no instruction. So like I said, I'm not letting them off the hook. However, I'm speaking directly to the women, because that is what the Lord has instructed me to do. But we are teaching our daughters something, especially. We're teaching them something, and we're teaching them all the wrong things. The amount of coddlings and just all of the just foolishness that I saw is just downright disturbing and disgusting. And I say mothers, but I want to take it a step further. The women of color that I saw, the amount of black women that I saw out of dress code, and just, it's like, what are we doing? What have we done, and what are we doing? And I made a video for you guys talking about slavery. See, one of the problems is we have been oppressed for so long that you still think the same level of oppression exists. And to a certain extent, it does. But you also don't see how in this hour you have been given sort of a window of time to move past some things. And you continuing, you're trying to take, you say vengeance is yours. See, the Lord says vengeance is his, and you want to pay back in your own way. And you don't realize that you will be on the losing end. When the things that will come about, especially here, do come about, you will be on the losing end. And I'm going to tell you that this conversation came about, some of the things that we're going to talk about, not just what I saw yesterday, but what the Lord spoke to me last night. He said, Tanzania, that you need to be disaster ready. And I thought to myself, and it is sad because what I saw yesterday, I didn't see disaster ready people. I didn't see women who were disaster ready. I didn't see women, caring for children like they were disaster ready. We were allowed to take the children home. So if it was your children and whoever, you were allowed to take the children home if you had a little slip. Those people came in there, took pictures, little photo ops. Like the graduation wasn't about the children, wasn't about the children's accomplishment. It's a photo op for the parents. Time for you to be seen. You keep getting up. You're in front of everybody. You're half dressed. It's a photo opportunity for you. But when they say you could take your child home, what do? You say, come on, baby, come take a picture so I can post it. And you leave the child right there with the teacher. You're of the worst kind. You're of the worst kind. So again, I say what I saw yesterday and when the Lord told me to be disaster ready, I'm just like, Lord, the two of these things are not lining up. The people are not disaster ready. And some of you guys won't get disaster ready. But there is a group of people, and I just know that there is, who all you need is that little push. And I pray that I can give that to you here today and throughout the other videos that I give. But it's just, I talked to you guys the other day about the famine that I saw. And this is more frequent. This is God mentioning the things more frequent. But this has begun. He started telling me this about famine definitely last year. And before that, the year 2022, I believe it was, he began to tell me, and I guess I'm going to skip around my notes here. He began to tell me that people are going to take their children out of school at alarming rates. And I really didn't know what that meant. I didn't understand. What do you mean taking their children out of school at alarming rates? And some of you guys are trying to jump ahead of how God is moving, and you're taking your children out prematurely. I don't want that to be you either, but he told me that. And I'm like, why would that happen? Some of the things that he has instructed me to do are because some of the things that he said will happen. This was 2-3 years ago. Well, now as we keep moving along, I see the exact need for it. I see exactly what's going on here. And it's very sad that at this late hour, we're going to have some of the conversations that we have to have today. But here we are. Because the people are not disaster ready. And when I say disaster ready, I mean in a practical sense. I mean in the spiritual sense. I mean just all together. You're not ready. You're not ready. So let's talk about some of the mindsets that we're still dealing with in this late hour that just, we're not ready. The first one is the role of a family. For some reason, we don't understand that one. For some reason, how many families are outlined in the Bible, in the Word of God, we still don't understand what the role of a family is. We are trying to create our own families, whether it be 2 mamas or 2 daddies or whatever. And we see that it's not working. But because saying that what I did didn't work requires you to have a level of humility that most people don't have, you continue on with the foolishness. We have altogether, for the most part, dismantled the true role of a family, and the children are suffering because of it. The next thing is marriage and divorce. We are not, in this late hour, we have not come to the conclusions Because there's a conclusion about marriage. There's a conclusion about divorce. It's not a never ending, ongoing, ever changing thing. No, God has already spoken about it. That means it's already been spoken about. And am I telling you to stay in a marriage? Like I always say, if somebody's knocking you upside your head, a marriage that probably, more than likely, you should have even gotten into, but you did not ask the Lord. You did not pray. You didn't care anything about anything other than you really wanted to be married, other than this man had money and you ended up getting divorced. Well, if you ended up getting divorced, the best thing for you to do, make sure that you're in right standing with God, because you have repented, because you have acknowledged what you did wrong, and let's move on and let's pick things up quickly. But also, let's not forget what happens, especially when you have children in these situations. What happens to the children? The word lines this out very clearly. And again, I'm not saying for you to be staying with somebody who's knocking you upside your head, but possibly you just need to come to the realization that you never should have gotten in that situation in the first place. But there's still implications to your actions. So marriage is marriage. There's still implications to your actions. And yes, there's a new argument of people, it's just a piece of paper and all this kind of stuff. It's a piece of paper, but it's not just a piece of paper. It's a contract. Remember the video that I made for you the other day? We're dealing with legalities. When we talk about spiritual issues, we're dealing with legalities. So that means this paper that you sign in the natural, you've already, when you consummate the marriage, you're signing another paper. One day you can't just go up there to the courthouse and say, he getting on my nerves, we have irreconcilable differences, and I don't feel like dealing with him. So just the paper part, yeah, they might go ahead and shred that paper or whatever else they do when you get a divorce. But there's another paper that you've signed in the spirit, that there is spiritual implications to your actions. And a paper that you're not just going to throw out like that. And I said, when you consummate the marriage. So you know what that means? Every time you have consummated a marriage, there needs to be some sort of divorce proceeding held. And these might not be people. You might not actually have a ring. You might not actually have a husband, like in your home. But a lot of you walking around with a lot of husbands. What did Jesus tell the woman at the well? You're right. That's not your husband. And you've had 5 husbands. So this tells us, this gives us the spiritual principles. We're talking about legalities, as I said. So he's telling her, all these people that you've laid with, technically all of these are your husbands. Okay? I hope you follow me there. And that leads us directly into the next thing, and that is premarital sex. It says in here, why are you addressing these things? When you talking about the Lord said be disaster ready, because these are some of the mindsets, these are some of the things that are going to excuse me. These are some of the things, these are some of the mindsets that prevent you from being able to hear the voice of God, that are preventing you from being ready. Your judgment is cloudy. You're on the wrong side. You are not on the Lord's side. Walking around here behaving the way that you are. It doesn't matter if you do have a crucifix on. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you said, Lord, you prayed. You wanted a house, you want a new car, you want a job, and you prayed to the Lord. You're not praying for God's will to be done. You want what you want. You're not ready. Your judgment is clouded. Your judgment is clouded. And this is another thing. I wrote here, if you do what your mom did, you get what she got. A lot of people like to, especially now, and we're going to talk about the heightening of therapy and all these kind of things. A lot of people have problems with their mothers and things of that nature. And when you have a problem with her, you don't see that what you're doing is the exact same thing that she did. And especially we're talking about by way of dealing with these men, premarital sex, having all these kids. I don't want to have all these kids that my mom had. I don't want to be like my mom. And the exact same thing. So you want to address all the other things that she did that might have been less desirable to you. But you don't want to address the thing that makes you guys exactly the same, because perhaps you'll have to realize you're not much better than she was. You don't have more self-control than she did. You're just like her. And though we're living in a different time, though you might have more money, you might actually even be married. Who knows at this point? You might have a lot of things that she did not get a chance to get, but you're behaving in the same way that she was, in the area of self-control, in the area of lasciviousness. in the area of sexual immorality. You're just like her. And you don't understand. What you don't understand is that the enemy has something waiting on you. And you will get the exact same thing that she got. And perhaps for you, it might happen later. It might happen sooner. Who wants to take that kind of gamble when the Lord says you need to be disaster ready? Who wants to be dealing with that kind of stuff? But you're not thinking forward. You're thinking about right now. You're thinking about in the moment. This is the next thing, and that is the rise of therapy, the lack of accountability. I cannot tell you how many women I've come across who put their children in therapy. The child doesn't need therapy, you do. If anybody in the situation at all needs therapy, you do. Our children are a great representation of how well we're doing. These little children, and I have seen it. I saw it yesterday very clearly. Something that I had, something that had been on my heart, I would say for about 2 years. The Lord cleared it up for me yesterday at the graduation, because I got a chance to see the person, and I'm not going to go into that whole story. I got a chance to see the person. I got a chance to see the child. And the Lord told me that, that there's a correlation between how these children are behaving and how the mothers are behaving. So if you have a child that you're struggling with their behavior, I want you to take a look at you. The thing needs to be introspective. You need to take a look at you. You need to look in the mirror. And even past looking in the mirror, you need to allow the Lord to search your heart and show you the things that are in your heart. Because the children are telling on you. We know exactly who you are and how you behave based on the way these children are acting. And therapy, guess what? Therapy won't fix that. Therapy is you, and I will say I'm not against therapy. I'm neither for nor against it, honestly. I believe that we have been given, it's like the Israelites wanting a king. We have been given the ultimate therapist, and we want more. And yes, God is faithful and sovereign, and he will send people the right way who will maybe you did find a good therapist and they pushed you to repentance and they pushed you to being in just a good place with you and God. But ultimately that's what it should be. When I see people asking about therapy and inquiring about therapy and things like that, what I'm seeing is I want to place all the blame on what somebody else did and take no accountability, no responsibility for myself. Do you not know when some of the things that will come up do come up, where will the therapist be? Where will the therapist be? When there's a war breaking out here, where will the therapist be? You think you're going to be able to call them? What do you think that's going to do to you? How do you think that's going to make you feel then when you can't call these people? But you have contracts, and not just the contracts that you're actually signing. This is for those marriages, just a piece of paper, people. Not just the contracts that you're actually signing in the natural. Remember, we're dealing with legalities in the spirit. And once you go in there divulging all your information, telling people all your business, things that you have not even brought to God, you're signing a different contract. One that you might not ever come to the place where you realize that contract is in place. I have a video for you that I made the other day. I want you to go and listen to that. If you're having a hard time understanding what I mean by legalities. I have two of them, actually. I'll go ahead and link both of them for you. Stop divulging all your information when you need a therapist. And you have the Holy Spirit, who is the ultimate therapist, the ultimate counselor, the ultimate comforter. And you're going to disrespect the Lord, the one who you're going to be crying out to when some of this stuff hits the fan. You're going to disrespect him and say, well, you're not good enough. I need to go in X, Y, and Z. This is completely insane. This is insane, but this is where we are. And like I said, not all therapists. I know there's some people who mark themselves as Christian therapists, but I also have seen people who mark themselves as Christians, and they're very far from it. They're very far from it. Okay? Remember, wearing a crucifix does not mean that you're Christian. That's something else we have to say in this late hour. Prayer. They took prayer out of school and you took prayer out of your home. It's been that long since you didn't pray. I can't say enough about prayer. Prayer is literally, I want you to think about Jesus. I want you to think about his ministry. Prayer was literally his lifeline. What did he tell the disciples? Like, you guys couldn't even stay with me here for an hour. And not only did he pray an hour, he prayed an hour, went to tell them about themselves, went back to pray again, came back to tell them about themselves, and went back to pray again. Prayer was the lifeline of his ministry. They understood this. They asked him, teach us how to pray. And this one, Jesus says, you pray like this. And gave them the structure of how you should pray, acknowledging God to be the Father. You know, people call it the Lord's Prayer. What it really is a structure of how to pray. But they asked him the question, teach us how to pray, because they understood that the miracles and all the things that he's doing is a result of this away time that he's spending with God, his Father. And some of you guys think you're going to be able to get a leg up, think you're going to be able to stand even, and you're not praying at all. And you'll never have enough things to pray about. I said this yesterday. I don't think I posted the video, but prayer is very tiring. Prayer is a full-time job. And some of you guys want to go into like ministry. You want to do things like making videos like this. To pray, to have a prayer life, specifically just to be able to do this, is another full-time job. Can you work 3 full-time jobs? Can you sleep 2 hours? Can you sleep 3 hours? Can you work 3 full-time jobs? How have you been praying? I told you guys the other day when the Lord showed me about, bombs being dropped and flooding and all that kind of stuff. You know what we were doing? When we did everything else that we could do, we went into the room and we began to pray. But as I said in that video, this is something that you're already going to have. You're going to have to have this discipline in place. It's like a muscle. Like, if you haven't done it, why do you think on a day of disaster that you're going to be doing it? No, you're going to be running around here panicking, crying because your therapist isn't picking up the phone to calm your nerves. Like, no, absolutely not. Prayer is something else that we just, do. I mean, do you even say grace over your food? Do you say grace over your food? That's the only prayer? When you bring those groceries in the house from the grocery store, you know what they're doing to the food systems. You already know. People have already said, we've already got this ironed out. But what do you do when you bring the food in your house? Do you pray over the food? This is a question. And not just grace. Oh, thank you for this food. Thank you for the food I'm about to eat. Thank you, Jesus. No, not that. I'm talking about like a prayer over the food. You know exactly what they're doing to the food. Yeah, you just eat it. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. Prayer. In this late hour, this is something that we're not doing. We're not praying over our children. We're not praying over ourselves. We're leaving out the house without prayer. We're waking up without praying. We're going to sleep without praying. We're taking opportunities without praying. Nobody's praying. And someone mentioned this, praying for, some of the ministers, and, you're outing people and we need to be praying for them. Let me tell you something as well. You need to be praying what the Holy Spirit leads you to pray. And praying for people who are in complete rebellion. The Lord has said they're in rebellion. And you say, no, not them, Lord. And you continue to pray. Well, there are a lot of things that you should be praying about. If I was y'all, pray the things that the Holy Spirit is leading you to pray about, and leave the other stuff. I would leave it alone. I wouldn't be praying witchcraft prayers, which is your will. You want your thing. You want what you want. You're not praying like Jesus. You didn't say, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. You want to pray what you want. Dress code. This kind of goes without saying, but apparently not. I don't know what is the dress code? What are we allowed to leave out of the house in? What are we allowed to leave out of the house in? Why am I going in the grocery store looking at your belly button as a grown woman with children? Why? Why are you at a school function? Why are you in a church? Why are you at work? Why am I looking at your nipples? Why? Why are we doing that? Why is that you? Why is the kindergarten graduation laden with scantily dressed women. Why? And why is that you? And why can't anybody tell you anything? And why won't you sit down? And why won't you put a shawl on? Why? Why? Because you want to be seen. And you will be seen. And you'll be seen by the wrong one. The dress code is just completely outrageous. You know, you guys are getting all these surgeries and all these nips and tucks and all this kind of stuff. And you want everybody to see it. And we really don't want to see it. We're really tired of seeing it. Those of us who have on all our clothes, we don't want to see what you have either. And unfortunately for you, you don't realize that the men don't want to see it either. The one that you complain about, the good men that you complain about don't exist. They don't want to see that outside of their bedroom either. They're not looking for a wife. They're not looking for nothing good to come from you. Maybe a good time for a night or two. And you're going to be crying about that too. You're upset as to why you can't find anybody who want to stay with you long time. And this is long term. And this is how you're coming out of the house looking. And you got daughters. And like I said, when I have this conversation with you, it's because I know. It's because I know. I used to dress crazy too. As a teenager, as a young adult, because nobody corrected me. Nobody said that was wrong. And I mean, I'm just grateful for the sovereignty of God so that I could sit here as a grown woman knowing some of these things are better. I'm going to link the video for you that I talked about that in. But there's no such thing as modesty now. We know everything about you and we didn't even have to pay for it at this point. We didn't have to pay for it. All a man has to do is invite you to, eat some chicken, eat a little steak, and he knows everything about you. He knows everything that he needs to know. And that's very unfortunate. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's sad. You're the one who's going to go home bitter and angry that you can't find this and you can't find that. And then you don't have the family that you want and all of these things when you don't realize that you are a part of your own problem. Why is that? Girl, put some clothes on. And some of you you need to just go in your closet and just get rid of everything that doesn't fit. And when I say don't fit, I'm not calling you fat. Girl, I'm saying that don't fit well. It's just showing too much. It's disturbing to us. We don't think it's cute. And I don't not think it's cute because I don't have the same. No, cover it up. We don't want to see it. I'm shopping for chicken nuggets. I don't want a side of your belly button. I don't want. And like I said, what you don't realize is the men are having the very same conversation. So the men that you say that you want, they don't want you because of what you're wearing. And how you're behaving. It's disturbing. And like I said, the graduation, it was the black women that I saw. Why is your breast and your belly button a side order at these children's graduation, a kindergarten graduation? Why? And then you keep getting up. So all of us can see you. You're in all of the photos. Half dressed. Whether you think it's cute, whether it actually is cute or whatever, it's inappropriate for what we're doing right now. You're not at the beach. And now, you don't even have to go to the beach to see some of the body parts that people are showing. All you gotta do is go to the grocery store. Heck, you can go to church, obviously. The way they're dressed out here is just far too much. But at the end of the day, you'll be the one to pay the price for it. You will. Disaster ready. So there will be disaster. Where do you think that you're going looking like that? Remember I told you guys, I saw in a dream that it was like all little cars. They had it was amenities, and it was just a certain class of amenities that you have. I don't know what it was based on. I didn't see what it was based on. I didn't see how you got to choose whatever. All I know is I was running behind because I was trying to warn people of X, Y, and Z. These people were leaving their children. And I said that to say, where do you think that you're going, looking and behaving the way that you are looking and behaving? Nobody's taking you with them. Nobody about to be arguing with you in a time of war, in a time of disaster. Nobody's about to be arguing with you. Nobody's about to have you who are very loud and you just outrageous. You don't know how to be quiet. You don't know how to be, meek and mild. You're just always out there. Nobody's going to risk their life for you. You're of the worst kind. Let's move to the next thing. And that's homeschooling and removing kids from school outside of God's timing. Now, I mentioned for you at the beginning of this video that the Lord said people will remove their children at alarming rates. However, the time has not come for that which will come. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, alarming rates like it was because something major had happened. But you want to remove your children before it's time because you want to be a homeschool content creator. You want to show everyone else that you're such a great mom because you keep your kids at home. And what they don't know is you keep your kids at home and you sitting down up in the bed. And then when some things hit the fan, when you need the resources, when you need the money to do X, Y, and Z and ABC, you don't have any of it because you were trying to paint a lie of a life for everybody else to see. Now, do I think that you should just be shipping off your little babies? I already made a video about that. I do not think you should be shipping off your babies. I do not think little babies belong in daycare. I don't. But there is a certain age. Some of these children, the way that they behave is because of you, and they need to get away from you as soon as possible. And when I say get away from you, I really mean they need to be integrated. They need to learn that not just my mom can give me directions. Not just my mom means well for me. And some of you mothers don't even mean well for the children. So imagine that. Some of these children need to learn how to mix and mingle with the peers that they're going to be around when you're not around. And some of y'all ripping these kids out of school and doing worse for them at home than the school was doing. Being lazy, just staying at home. I want to read this to you and then we're going to go. This is also I think what we just read was also in Proverbs, the 6th chapter. We're going to go to Proverbs, the 6th chapter, and we're going to go to the 9th verse. How long will you lie down, O lazy one, when you arise from your sleep and learn self-discipline? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to lie down and rest. So poverty come like an approaching prowler who walks slowly but surely, and your need will come like an armed man making you helpless. What does this tell us? It's saying that you're being lazy. A little sleep, a little something. Girl, I'm tired today. Girl, I don't have time for that. Just you doing too much sleep and too much slumbering. And the hour that is right now is not the time for that. Am I saying that you shouldn't take a day to rest? Absolutely. You should be resting on the Sabbath. You should be resting. But outside of that, you're spending your time, spinning your wheels, doing a whole bunch of other stuff that you're simply just not supposed to be doing. And then when it's time for you to do the thing that you are supposed to be doing, you tired, a little sleep, a little slumber. And poverty, it says there. So that means you're going to lack the things that are necessary. Like you're going to lack the things that you need. And then you're going to start blaming other people. Whose fault is that you don't have the things that you need? Then people start blaming your mama. You want to blame this person and that person. It's you. It's you. You're your own problem. And I hope that you realize. And I'm telling you this completely in love. I'm telling you this because, like I said, this is the correction that I receive from the Lord. Some of you are your own problem. And while it is still day, while the hour has not yet come, if I were you, I would get it together. Because the Lord says that we need to be disaster ready. And I know I gave you a bunch of practical things, but I also want to say this. I mentioned this a lot. I also want you to get, excuse me. I also want you to get ready in the sense of ready. Are you spending your money, the money that you spend for fast food and Starbucks and all that kind of stuff, money that you're spending on that kind of stuff, the money that you're spending on weaves and wigs and, nails, This money could be set aside. This money could be used to get supplies. Hurricane season is about to come up. And if you live in the South, well, hurricane season is about to come up. And even if you don't live in the South, you live in another place where there are disasters. Are you prepared for those disasters? Do you have a disaster readiness kit? Do you have a disaster readiness plan for your family? Do these kids know what numbers to call? Do you guys have like a meetup spot? Like, do you guys know what to do if there were a disaster? Or are you going to be of the people waiting for, FEMA and all of these other government places that are going to be the ones issuing out the horn, if you know what I mean? And I went over that in another video, so we're not going to go over that here today. Are you going to be at their mercy because you didn't do the preparation while it was still day? This is how people get locked into systems, because they did not prepare. Have you read Joseph's story? Joseph was the answer because he was able to sit with the Lord and ask the Lord the meaning of the dream. But he was the answer for his people in his time. And if you can recall the story, his family actually would have had him all to themselves had they listened to his warning, had they listened to the dream that the Lord had given him. But some of you don't want to listen. And when the day of disaster comes, guess what? You will be of the people that were in Joseph's time. They had to sell themselves. They sold all of their possessions. They even sold themselves for food because they had nothing. They were not prepared. Will it be you? Even the people from his own bloodline, even the people from his own house had to come and get rations from the line. And thank God for his sovereign hand, for his sovereignty, that he didn't deal harshly with them as they dealt with him. But are you ready? I told you I have seen disaster. I mean, the time just keeps going by. And I'm like, Lord, at what time? Like, what do we need to do to be this kind of ready? Stores, shelves that were completely empty. You've seen this before, though. When you saw this when the pandemic was here, perhaps you still had groceries in your home. Perhaps things weren't too bad for you, but you did see this. What if grocery stores were like that for a year? What kind of prepared would you need to be? Are you that kind of prepared right now? Knowing that at any time, we got a chance to see that. We got a chance to see that we're not really in control like we think that we're in control. That as soon as someone, gives the word to shift something, things shift. As soon as they say, no driving, no transporting this, no doing that, guess what? The thing stops. Are you that kind of ready? And I know some of you say, well, that's why I garden. I'm going to have my own gardens. Well, guess what? You don't think those people in Joseph's time had their own gardens? They had their own stuff. Like I said, they sold their stuff and ultimately themselves as slaves because they were not prepared. So while you spend your money on nails and all this kind of stuff, I want you to be prepared. And what kind of prepared you need to be for your house? Well, you need to get with the Lord, sit with the Lord in prayer for that information. I can't give it to you. That's all I have to say for today. I want us to get it together. I want us to realize that the hour is late. The time is now. If not now, when? As always, if you have a question, ask a question, and I'll see you in the next video.